Okay, so in the last session we discussed about debit memo invoice creation. To test the debit memo invoice, we take in this case where just first we'll create the stand invoice $10,000 and we'll create the debit memo to reduce $3,000 from this 10,000 when you are making the payment for standard invoice. So as a mandatory, we have to select this debit memo, and finally we can make the payment of 7,000. System will reduce. If you ignore to select this debit memo at the time of the standard invoice payment, system will take 10,000 only. So now we are going to test very manual process, and we have a automation also when we are dealing with the payment process request through payment manager. So we no need to select any invoices. Based on the criteria, system will select and it will process the payment. In that scenario, in that case, system will select debit memo also automatically along with the stand invoice wherever the debit or credit memos are existed. That process also will see. First we'll test this case. Okay, first we have to create the standard invoice with $10,000. Let's do it. So go to navigator, and here we have payables. Go to invoice workbench, click on invoices. Okay, okay, fine. Then go to this task panel, say create invoice. Find your business unit. We have business unit like Fusion, US business unit, supplier also Fusion supplier 1 we created. System will default the site information. Now you can give the invoice number. So Fusion 4 I am giving. I think we don't have this number. We didn't use this number, so I'm using the Fusion 4. And invoice amount is, as we discussed, $10,000 to execute this test case. System is defaulting the invoice type as standard. Okay, fine. The payment terms, since we defined the reference data set for payment terms for this specific BU, the same two you can access. Enter invoice amount as 10,000. You can enter the invoice distribution or else you select distribution set. We created only one distribution set, the same I'm selecting. And go to invoice actions, submit for validation. Invoice is validated. Optionally, you can perform the accounting. Post to ledger. Okay, EBS we have a draft, final post, but Fusion we have draft and final post only. Final option not then we don't have in Fusion. Here post to ledger is nothing but final post, where it will create accounting, it will transfer to GL as well as it will post the same journal entry. Then say OK and complete it. Now we'll create one debit memo. Say save and create next. It's all about closing. Click on save and create next. Here we have to create debit memo. Select debit memo. Select your business unit. Select supplier. Select debit memo number. I'm just giving DM1 debit memo 1 amount, currency, in which currency USD. The amount is, as we discussed, 3,000 minus 3,000 minus 3,000. Now we are creating the debit memo. We know very well in EBS when you are creating the debit memo, in the invoice header level you have to select invoice match action as a invoice match action as invoice. That means you are creating the debit memo. The debit memo you are creating against what? Will be creating debit memo against invoice. So you have to select match action. Then system will allow you to create this debit memo against the invoice. That process we have here. They removed that option. Straight away you can do that activity by selecting this line level option. See here. So this is the added information we given. Now we no need to give any line information. We know when you match from with which invoice against which invoice we are getting the debit memo. Accordingly, system will be copying the lines and distribution. That concept remains same. Here you have to select. See here, correct matched invoice, correct unmatched invoice. You are trying to with the debit memo. You are trying to correct the invoice amount for standard invoice. That standard invoice is created by using the matching option, or without matching the invoice is created as standalone. In our case the invoice is created as a standalone, means without matching that invoice was created, which invoice we are going to correct. So you have to select this option. Okay, the fusion 4, what is the invoice we created, that is not matched invoice. We didn't create that invoice by matching the PO or receipt or some other information. That is unmatched, so select as a correct unmatched invoices. Then click on now. System will display with this supplier what are the unmatched standalone invoices whatever we created. Just click on go. Find that invoice number we given as Fusion 4 and click on search. So this is invoice. Enable correct. How much amount you want to correct. So same debit memo amount minus 3000. Enter minus 3000. Then say apply and say OK. Now the same information will be copied to line and the same to distribution. That point is same as EBS. That should be same. Okay, now here you can see that is corrected amount. Now you can go with the standard process of validation accounting. Invoice is validated. Optionally you can perform the accounting. Say okay, accounting is created. Now cancel means close. Here done. We created invoice and debit memo. Now as we discussed, these two activities are completed. Now we'll go and process the payment. At the time of payment we have to select these two invoices to reduce the amount to pay remaining outstanding amount. Go to payment workbench, go to this task panel. Okay, okay, fine. This is the invoice workbench. You can see all invoice related tasks and all. What you can do is go to navigator, will switch into payments. So here you can go. Basically here it will display that payments, invoices and all that also, that we have to set that how we require. That we'll talk on that later. So just go to the payment workbench. What we are doing, just go to navigator, under payables select payments, select this payments panel. Here say create payment. Task is create payment. So you want to process the payments from which business unit. Select your business unit and payment to which supplier. Say Fusion supplier. Sorry. Site is defaulting. Select disbursement bank account, internal bank account, payment method check, payment process profile. Okay, here you can select Fusion payment process profile and payment document Fusion check selected. The system is going to consume document number 3. Now here you have to select the invoices, for which invoices we want to process the payment. Click on select and add. So invoice number, see the two invoices are getting just displayed for this respective supplier. I selected these two and say apply and say okay. See here, after apply, once you click on apply, the pop-up will remain same. The reason is, if you want to search few more invoices and apply, you can do that. Just you are selecting here. Apply is nothing but select. We selected those invoices. Again, you can search and you can select and you can click on apply. Those will get selected for payment. Now anyway, no more invoice we want to select. Say okay. Now these two got selected. If you make the payment will be processed for only 7,000. Now here you can say save and close.
Uh, Lakshman, one quick question.
Please.
In case by mistake user has selected the only 10,000, then the payment will be processed for the 10,000.
Yep.
And only the in case selecting the debit memo then.
So in that case, if you notice that, you may cancel that. Okay, you may void that payment. If the situation is that still the check is with you and not yet cleared and all, you can void or you can stop the payment. Okay, and you can reverse that. I mean to say, you can reverse the payment by voiding, and you can reopen the same invoice, and then again you can process the payment by selecting the stand invoice and the debit memo. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Fine. This is all about debit memo. We'll see the next concept. So credit memo is also same, like there won't be any difference and all. Just only the type would be different. So in case of credit memo also the same logic. I'm going to take the same case here for credit memo also. Or else I may change amounts. Okay. So what is the purpose of credit memo? Sorry. So debit memo, what purpose we are using? To reduce the supplier liability in case of purchase returns. When you perform the purchase returns, with that reason you can create the debit memo. We have two options. You can perform the purchase returns and purchasing. That action will trigger debit memo creation payables automatically. That is the one case. The other case is you can create the debit memo through manual process. That's what we tested now. And when you talk about credit memo, other than other than purchase returns, with any reason, if you want to reduce the supplier liability, okay, if you want to reduce the supplier liability, we can use the credit memo. Other than purchase returns, the reason could be something, you by mistake you enter the wrong amount in the invoice, you want to reduce. Okay, reason can be anything. You can take any business case except purchase returns. In that case, we use the credit memo. To test the credit memo scenario case, we'll just go with the standard invoice with the 5,000. We'll create the credit memo with 1,000. When you are making the payment, we'll be selecting these two invoices, then system will process the payment only for 4,000. Okay, this is what we are going to test. There is no difference when you compare with a debit memo. Okay, here let me, as we discussed, right, we'll keep it as for case. One second. Yeah, I'll keep the same. I'll copy because we plan to share this sheet, right? Okay, we're done with the debit memo. We'll see the credit memo case. Okay, credit memo. Here I'll take the case as just it's 5,000. We'll create standard invoice with 5,000. So we got invoice with the 5,000, and we recorded invoice for 5,000. Now supplier, we got information from supplier. Supplier is giving the discount after purchasing. After purchasing, at the time of purchase, if you get some discount with that amount only, after discount, whatever the amount you have, with that only you'll get the invoice. But say take the case, you got the information from supplier is giving some discount, so 1,000. In that case, you have to reduce that 1,000 because we got some discount after purchase. So you have to present in the system. So you will be creating the credit memo. After creating the credit memo, when you are making the payment, okay. Okay, when you are making the payment along with this invoice, we'll be selecting the credit memo. Finally, we'll be processing $4,000. That's all. We'll go and test it now. We'll create the standard invoice, or else it can be something wrong invoice. Say you created this standard invoice as a standalone invoice. Okay, you created this standard invoice as standalone without matching with any PO or receipt. If you are matching, you can identify what's wrong with that invoice information. But if you are not matching, you cannot find it. Maybe just you will be entering directly. Later, you identify that invoice amount should be 4,000, but you entered with 5. So in that case, you can go and do correct by using the credit memo. Go to invoice workbench. Sorry. So invoice workbench. Invoices. So create invoice. Select your business unit. Fusion US business unit. Instead of selecting better, you can type. It will fetch immediately. So invoice number I am giving you as a Fusion 5. Invoice currency is USD, and payment currency. So sorry, I'm sorry, it's not payment currency. Invoice amount. What we discussed, 5,000. Okay. Now enter line amount. Same amount I'm entering 5,000. Instead of entering manual distribution, I'm selecting distribution set. Then complete invoice creation by validating and accounting. It's validated. Now you can perform the accounting and you can transfer to GL. Sorry, it's wrong selection. Post to ledger. Funds accounted. Okay, invoice number is Fusion 5. So save and close, or else you can say save and create another. Done. Now we'll create the credit memo. Select invoice type as a credit memo. Select business unit. Supplier is Fusion Supplier 1. We can give the number as CM1, credit memo 1. Select invoice currency, and invoice amount is, as we discussed, minus 1000. And here what you have to do, you have to go with the option called as correct unmatched invoices. Then click on go. You want to correct which invoice amount? Invoice number is Fusion 5. This invoice amount you want to correct. Select how much amount you want to reduce. 1000 minus 1000. Then say apply and say OK. The lines are copied from that invoice. Now you can validate. You can account the same. Okay, then say save and close. Now we'll go for payment. Go to navigator, payments. So go to this task panel. Say create payment. Select your business unit. Fusion US business unit. Supplier also. Fusion Supplier 1. Select bank account details. I'm sorry, you may get some background noise from my side because here very close to institute there is temple. Okay, seems to some event is going on. Select payment document and system is defaulting next document number. Here select standard invoice under credit memo. So select and add. Here the two system is displaying only these are the two open invoices. Say apply means select and say OK. Now if you select these two, the payment would be $4,000. Okay, then say save and close. So that's all about this credit memo case. Payment creation
Hello,
process. Just now we tested the same. Yeah, please.
Lakshman Munindra here.
Yeah, Mahendra.
Can you open that accounting entries for that payment one?
Payment one accounting entries. No,
Yes.
tell me what is your doubt.
No, nothing. I just want to see the accounting, how it's happened it for payment. Where we can see that accounting.
Okay, you want to see accounting. Okay.
Yes.
So since for this we didn't create any accounting, first you can submit the create accounting and you can do that.
Okay. Okay.
Submit accounting, you can do that. I'll go with this. Run the create accounting. So go to manage payments.
Okay.
You can run create accounting from there. Let me select from here. It's not filtering. So Let's do in this way. Better we'll search. So these are the payments you processed. Okay, here you have a different options. Okay, here you can submit post to ledger. It's nothing but create accounting under transfer to GL and post it. From here you can perform.
Okay.
In invoice workbench you can see in the actions, right? You can see in the actions. So but here you can select, and you for individual payment, if you want to process the payment, you can click on this. It will process the accounting. See, after asking the question, you may just mute from your end. If there is next question, yes, you can unmute and you can ask me. Okay, done. We're done with that. If you want to see the accounting, you may click on view accounting, or else for now you can say okay. Then you can go with the actions. From here you can click on view accounting. This is accounting. Liability is debit and cash clearing account is crediting. Okay, the cash or cash clearing will credit based on the invoice payment options which you are setting. If you set payment time only accounting, it will just take the direct cash account. At clearing time also you need accounting, means it will take cash clearing. Here when you reconcile, cash clearing debit and cash would be credited, same as per as EBS how we manage in the same way. You can select one by one, you can do it, or else the straight away you may run the create accounting. Okay, done. So that's all about payment creation. Just now we have seen for debit memo, credit memo along with invoice. In case of the individual invoice, you go and select only one invoice and you make the payment. It already we tested in these two cases, payment process only. Now what we'll do is the payment process request we'll see later, because we don't have any outstanding invoices. That will be testing later. First we'll go with the prepayment invoice. After testing the prepayment invoice, we'll pass few invoices, we'll create few invoices, then we'll see how system will auto select those invoices for payment. We'll see that complete process. Okay, first we'll see the prepayment invoice process.
Lakshman, one question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, let's say like during posting, for various reasons, the posting might end in error. So sometimes we correct the data at the table level.
See,
So how is it handled?
when you say posting, the posting takes place in GL.
Yes.
Okay, if you go to error log, it will be giving the clear information. I'm answering. If you don't mind, if you can mute, I can hear some noise. Yeah, only the concern is we are recording this session. That is the reason. Okay, fine. So when I talk about posting, it's all about we'll be posting that whatever the transaction we created, that will get for that system will create accounting. It will move to GL. The GL, it will system will update the balances against the accounts, that only we are calling as posting. In that case, if there is some issue, only the thing is just you can see in the error log. It will give the very detailed information what reason you are not able to post. Also, you can see that reason, you can go and correct, and you can again resubmit posting from GL side. Again, you don't need to submit from subledger, since you submitted from here for posting. Okay, within the GL you can select particular journal and you can post, or else you can select multiple journals you can post, or else you can run the program which will be posting unposted journals which doesn't have any issues. That's how we'll be managing. Okay, this point I'll be showing even auto posting and everything possible in GL. Okay, this post, since
Lakshman,
posting is,
my
yeah.
Lakshman, my question is not complete. So I got that point. So like usually in ABS, when there is an issue at the table level, we make some corrections to the data sometimes. So how
Sorry.
is that handled? Like there
Okay,
might be
tell
a
me some example.
situation.
Tell me some example. I'll talk about it.
No, let's say there is some variation. There's a big batch of invoices we
No,
are
no, no.
posting.
That won't happen. First of all, if there is variance, system will stop you. You cannot validate it, right? Invoice
I
should be
know that.
validated. Yep.
Yeah, yes, that happens. But sometimes there will be a scenario where we correct the data at the table level in EBS. So if that kind of scenario arises, how is that handled in the SAS model?
Table level here you cannot correct anything. That's not at all possible. If something wrong with that invoice and all, something wrong with this invoice from front end only with the whatever the process we follow, you have to do it. If there is some exceptional case and all, then in that case we have to contact with Oracle. You cannot do touch tables directly to do any kind of modifications. Okay, that you should take help from Oracle. But generally the process whatever we have, it never support if something wrong. I mean, if some variance is there, it won't allow you to take for next level. If you can give me the example, I can talk about it. Okay,
No, yeah, means like it means I don't like
tell me your experience, what
for,
you have seen, so that I can.
no, sometimes sometimes in a batch
Please,
like
if you don't
maybe,
mind, I don't accept if you say
let's
sometimes.
say no, I can give an example. Let's say sometimes we have issues with the conversion,
Hmm.
currency conversion.
Hmm.
So there will be a small
Conversion
variance
simple,
and
simple. See, conversion, the small variance it will take into rounding, and if there is any difference, it will system will route to realized gain or loss accounts. Okay, realized
okay,
gain or loss
that's
accounts.
okay. That's true, but sometimes we end up in correcting the data in the tables, like
Yeah,
some variation.
yeah. Maybe if that is the case, like from front end, we cannot do that. Database access also we are not getting in case of cloud. Only the just approach is we have to contact Oracle. That's how we can fix that kind of issues. Okay, we'll request Oracle to help on that. Fine. Yep. Somebody tested something. If there is a SLA, the create accounting failed, no transfer to GL and posting not happening, then how did you fix that issue? So okay, if that is the case, say for example you run the create accounting and it's Satya is saying, so we run the create accounting and not to transfer also not happening. In that case, when you run the create accounting, it will give a message in the log. You can see whether period is not opened in the GL or what exactly the issue. You can see in the error log and you can verify it. And again, what you have to do is once again, if that is a kind of fresh environment where you are doing all those things, you have to go to SLA for particular event class, whatever against which event class we have a transactions. You have to make sure that the accounting checkbox is enabled. Okay, that's how we have to manage. Okay, the same we follow in EBS here also. Just you can go and verify, and you have to, if something
Like
is not enabled, you have to sorry, it's not enabled, you have to enable it. Again, resubmit the program, it will work. If other than that, if you have some issues, anyway log file will get generated. You can go through this log. One point, yep, please, somebody is asking question.
yeah, for just to extend that point from Satya. So sometimes in the Excel tables, like some of the data may not be populated for various reasons on the database side.
Hmm.
So where we need to go and fix the data. So you're saying in this case for cloud application, because it's a cloud applications, we cannot make any changes to the database
Yep.
level.
See, there's some
Okay.
corrections, some correction related journals you can pass in this environment also. You can correction related journals if you want to pass, you can pass, but by directly if you want to go and update the amounts, you cannot do in this. Okay, directly if you want to go and do some changes for the data which is there in the base table, you cannot do it. Any kind of issues based on the transaction and all, yes, always will have option of just going and modifying the relevant transactional data accordingly. You may fix it. Okay, fine. Okay, see, in when we are working on like we'll touch that SLA, we'll touch that SLA when we are doing the purchasing setups. Okay, at the time I'll take your point and we'll go for other points also which you are expecting or looking for. For now, let's proceed with this. Okay, so we'll be working on SLA part, subledger accounting. At that time, I'll just talk about more points and what are the other flexibilities we have compared to EBS. We'll talk on that. Okay. I don't know, like who is asking that question. Malik, who was asking that question?
I didn't ask anything.
No, okay, fine. No, the question was who is asking about this data fix and all. Yeah,
Rashman, it's Venkat.
yeah, Venkat. Yeah. So see, that's what when we are working on purchasing, we have to do the what I can say, like SLA level, SLA related setups. At that time, just you can post SLA related questions. We can talk on that. Okay. From my side, also just I'll make a note. Just you have some questions related to SLA related issues. I'll make a note. Even there are some other questions also, check format and all those also. I just made a note. I'll make sure that I'll be covering that. But anyway, now this is not the time to talk about that SLA. But since accounting we are performing, yes, we are asking valid question. But if you want to know more about that, will when you are working on that, you can ask me relevant questions. We'll spend more time on that. Okay, we'll do that, Venkate. We'll do in that way. Fine. So this is all about credit memo. We already discussed. Now we'll talk about prepayment. Prepayment. So when you talk about prepayment, okay, so it's all about advance. A prepayment means we'll give advance to our suppliers and employees also. The suppliers and employees, we can process the, you can give the advances, the same information we can record in the system as a prepayment. But in Fusion, the process, whatever we give some advance to sub employees, that is just there is some change in that we'll discuss when we are working on Fusion expense. In case of expense, we'll discuss about how the employee related advances or employee related reimbursement process can be handled in the Fusion. We'll talk about it. We know in EBS it's not like that, it won't work in the same way. It's a little bit different compared to EBS related to employee expenses. That will be discussed in detail level. But now we'll talk about prepayment. Means here we have to understand that the advance which we give to the supplier, that we can record in the system as a prepayment. So when I talk about this prepayment, to test this functionality, let's go with this simple process test case. First, what we'll do is we'll create prepayment invoice. So we'll create prepayment invoice with 25,000. So we know, like without invoice we cannot make the payment in our system. That is the reason. So you should create invoice as a prepayment invoice. Then you have to make the payment. Then we'll process the payment for prepayment invoice. That is 25,000. Okay. After making the payment for prepayment, that amount $25,000 will be available to use. Then we'll take the case, say we are going to procure something from the same supplier, that may be like partial amount for the full amount, whatever. Say I will take the simple case, we procure something from supplier, the worth is say 25,000. In that case, I'll create the stand invoice. I'm taking here total amount, but it can be any case. It could be partial amount or more than 25,000. It can be anything, but I'm taking the case. We purchased something from supplier and we got invoice from the supplier. The invoice amount is 25,000. So I'll create standard invoice with 25,000. Now we have to pay 25,000 to supplier. So instead of paying, what I want to do is I want to adjust what are the advance I given to the supplier. In that case, I'll apply. Okay, I'll apply prepayment on standard invoice. I'll apply prepayment on standard invoice. That's all. So this is what we are going to test. Okay. So first we'll create the prepayment invoice. Go to invoice workbench, invoices, go to task panel, say create invoice. Select your business unit and just search for your supplier. Before that, you can select type as a prepayment. Select invoice type as prepayment, and here I'll say invoice number is PP1, prepayment 1. The prepayment I'm going to record in dollars. The amount is $25,000. We know very well when you are creating the prepayment, the payment term should be immediate, right? So the moment you want to process make the payment, will be recording it. So you should select payment term as immediate. Done. So now here enter the prepayment amount at line level. So enter. Now we know very well we no need to take any manual distribution or distribution set, automatically system will take. See here system is taking the distribution automatically. From where it is taking? It is taking from common options. Okay, if you provide the same prepayment account in supplier site level, it will default from supplier site. Thus the prepayment account will derive from supplier site. If that is not available in supplier site, basically system will derive this prepayment account from uh, common options for payables or procurement, whatever the configuration did, which will be taken from there. We know for normal invoices, distribution we have to provide through distributions that are manual distribution. That system will generally debit, and liability system always take from supplier side. Supplier site level liability account is not available, it will take from common options. But in case of prepayment, you no need to provide account. So debit account system will, for debit and entry, it will take the prepayment account from supplier site. If not from supplier site, if it is not there, it will take from common options. Okay, that's how it will take. And here, if you go to show more, okay, show more. Here we have option apply after. So in EBS, the same point. This is a very important point. That's the reason just I want to highlight this. The same like apply after in EBS you see as a settlement date. That means this prepayment can get adjusted on any invoice after which date, on or after which date that you have to select, that they given here as instead of settlement date after date. That means here I can use this prepayment from 28th onwards. If I give like tomorrow date till tomorrow, I cannot use this prepayment. So that's how we have. And if you go to accounting tab here, you can see system is defaulting the liability account. But in case of EBS, what we'll do, we'll go to the folder show field and we'll select the liability account. From there you can see that which liability account is defaulting, but here they're given in this way. There is a lot of additional information also, you can go through it when you're practicing. So we created prepayment invoice. Just I'll make it as show less, so it will show very basic required information. And I given all this information. Now what we can do is you can just click on validate.
Lakshman, one quick question.
Yeah, please.
Lakshman, like in release 12 for prepayment.
Sorry, can you be loud?
Okay. What I was asking, Lakshman, like in release 12, there is a feature to tag a PO with prepayment.
Sorry,
My voice is audible?
not much. Okay, somewhat okay, but not that much.
Okay.
Carry on, you can proceed,
Lakshman,
no
what
problem.
I was asking,
Hmm.
in R12, there is a feature to tag a PO with a prepayment.
Here also you can do that. Here you have a matching, right?
Okay.
We didn't select PO.
Okay. So while applying prepayment, we can match to the invoice which belongs to the same PO.
Yes,
Same
yes.
feature is there?
Yeah, we have the same. We have same. See, functionality wise, there is no much change. Only here you can see some framework they changed and some terminology. Very simple logics they changed, but not concept how it works. Okay, you can go with the PO matched. You can create. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just submitted for validation. We know for normal invoices, once you do the validation, okay, the before validation, okay, after validation, normally the status will become validated, but in case of prepayment, status is unpaid. Now let's perform accounting for this. Then we'll make the payment for this prepayment invoice. Okay, just we accounted. Now we'll make the payment, pay in full. and select. Then say submit. So done. Now you can see the status as paid. So we created prepayment invoice and we process the payment. Now if you want to use this prepayment, there should be some open transaction to apply this prepayment. To test that functionality, we'll go and create the standard invoice with the same amount or partial amount. Anything you can take. It's all about testing. So you can say save and create next. Select your business unit, select your supplier, say Fusion 6, and here say we have invoice from supplier for 25,000. We are entering the same. Else it could be say I'll take more than that. Nothing wrong. I'll take 50,000. We got invoice from supplier for 50,000. We are creating the same. Just scroll little left here. Enter amount 50,000. You can enter manual distribution or you can select distribution set. Say validate. So validated. Perform accounting. Say OK. Now this invoice is due on this date, today's date. Okay, no payment is done. Now we have prepayment. Now we have to pay 50,000, but already we have $25,000 prepayment with the supplier. That wants what we given. If you want to apply that amount, what we can do is go to invoice actions and say apply prepayment. So this is the prepayment invoice available with this supplier with the 25,000. We have to pay 50, but I'm going to adjust this 25. Select this invoice and click on apply.
Lakshman, your screen is not refreshing.
Sorry?
The screen is freeze.
If it can you reconnect, please? Please reconnect. I don't see that issue with the others. Okay, select invoice and click on apply. Then that is applied. Now you can click on done. Since you applied this prepayment, accounting will get changed. So with that reason, you can see the validation is again revalidation need to be performed, and accounting also. Again, you have to submit. The same will do it. Again, submit for validation. Since there are some changes application related, again just submit for accounting. Now this invoice is paid. You can see here the total amount is 50,000, but your prepayment you applied 25,000 because of prepayment application that got reduced. Now the payment amount is 25,000. Still the outstanding amount, if you want to see that schedules and all, you can see from here. Manage installments. From here the amounts you can see. This is the gross amount, unpaid amount is this, and you paid only 25,000. So this is how just you can see. Now you can go and verify the prepayment invoice. So save and close. At the same time, like you can see the invoice partially applied. There was status in the invoice. Now you can go to manage invoices You can search with the number, invoice number, PP1 we given for prepayment. Click on invoice number. So here you can see the validation type as validation status as fully applied. This prepayment invoice, okay, fully applied. This is how just we can manage the prepayment invoice. Fine. That's all about the prepayment to understand. This is a prepayment process, how it works. Fine. Now to test this payment process request, we simply call it as PPR, which can be managed from payment manager function. Through payment manager, we can submit the payment process request to process the payments for multiple suppliers or invoices automatically based on the criteria. Okay. Okay. So we'll see that if you to test that, what we'll do is we'll be creating the few invoices for this testing purpose. I'll just go and create 2-3 invoices quickly. I'll go and create 2-3 invoices, then we can test that functionality. Go to invoice workbench. Okay, so select your business unit, select, just tab out. Yep. So now I'll give the invoices like F1, invoice number, invoice currency. I'll say 5,000 into the same amount line level. Select distribution set. Validate. And we know very well to make the payment for an invoice, accounting is not mandatory. Accounting is only mandatory to just interface that invoice or payment information to GL generally and to get update the balances. We're done with that and we'll go and create one more invoice. There's nothing wrong if you create accounting, but not mandatory as we know. As a functionality point of view, to make the payment, okay, accounting is not mandatory for invoice. We'll create one more invoice. Business unit. I'll say invoice number F2, invoice currency USD. If you set this invoice currency at supplier site level, it will get defaulted. Okay, so we didn't set that option. Next time we'll see that when we go to the invoice screen. Next time we'll default it. So here I am just entering $6,000. Just place the cursor, it will open the fields. Enter the same amount, $6,000. Yes, select distribution set. Validate invoice, and you may submit for accounting. We'll create one more invoice, then we'll proceed with the PPR, payment process request submission. And say save and create and next. Select business unit. Select vendor. Invoice number is F3. Invoice currency USD. Invoice amount say $10,000. Provide the same information at line level. Somebody is asking. Okay. Okay, where do you see the pay group? It will be in the show more basically. So 1 second, I'll show you that. That should be there, but it's not appearing in this. This is a different invoice grouping. It's not getting displayed. I think Satya is asking. I'll just check it and get back to you. I'll let you know, Satya. Okay, that is not getting displayed. Basically, it has to be in the header level. I'll check and get back to you. Okay, fine. So, fine. Now, just we given this information and how to select the distribution set. Any chance that we have in the line level? I don't think so. We have in line level. Not here. Okay, I'll just check it. No issues. Fine. I just created one more invoice and just say validate. Okay, and submit for accounting. Okay, now you can just say okay. Done. Now we have three invoices. Okay, now we have three invoices. For these three invoices, if you want to make the payment, how to do it one time, or else it may not be just three mini invoices. Then how to process the payment, we'll see now. And say save and close. Okay, we have three invoices. Now we'll talk about this. So create payment process request. Okay, so PPR. Through PPR, what we can do is you can automate the payment process. Okay, you can automate the payment process. Here, let me take this point to discuss. So till now we have seen how to make the payment through manual process where we'll select invoices, specific invoice or multiple invoices, and we'll make the payment. Instead of going with that kind of manual process, we can automate the payment process with certain criteria. What would be the criteria? When you go to that screen, we'll see that. But just to understand before that, the criteria could be like when you're making the payment, you may select supplier. If you select the supplier, system will pick all that supplier related invoices. There you can set only due or irrespective of due or overdue or future due, whatever. If you want to pick, you can pick all the invoices, or else you can go with some criteria called as supplier type or pay group, or else you can go with the payment method. So if you select payment method with the same payment method, how many invoices we have in the system which are related to different suppliers, system will select. Or else if you give supplier and payment method only for that specific supplier, how many invoices which falls under respective payment method, accordingly system will filter and it will select. When you look at this process, payment process request, basically system will select the invoices based on criteria whatever we are giving, and it will build those invoices, and then it will format for printing. Finally it will confirm the selected invoices. That means this is a final, this is a confirmation is a final action where the invoice will turn into payment records. Okay, this is a simple process which system follows. It's all about to automate the payment process. Instead of going and selecting the invoices through manual process, if you want to automate the payment process where system will automate selection and printing and finalization of the payment record creation. If you want to automate, you can use this. Okay, and we'll go and see now. And again, if you want to process the payment, say for example you have a case where every time you'll be processing the payment to specific supplier or some different group of suppliers. In that case, to predefine that information, you can create the template. Also you can define the templates. The template level, you can provide that the bank account details and payment process request, which information is required when you are processing the payment. only which is a mandatory information you can provide in the template level, or otherwise along with that mandatory information you can specify on what criteria more frequently you will be processing the payment, what general criteria you follow when you are making the payments. The general criteria you can define through template, which is a predefined information you can set up. So you can use the template. With the template you can process the payment, otherwise manually you can go and set the required parameters and controls, and based on that also you can process the payment. Anyway, first what we'll do is we'll see how to process the payments through payment process request. After understanding that point, I'll just cancel that, and I'll take you through the how to create the template, and by selecting the template how to make the payments we'll see now. Okay. Okay, there is some question from Venkat. Is there any interface available to send the file to bank? Yes. That should be done through SOA, service oriented architecture. Okay, so from there, like you can establish the integration between our system and the bank system through SOA. You can connect. Yeah, I don't know, like the question is passed or not. Venkat is asking, can we transfer that file to bank or not? Yes, can we, is there an interface to transfer the file? Yes, that connectivity we can establish through SOA, service oriented architecture, which is a middleware component. Through that we can do. Fine, done. Let's see this payment process request. The purpose is payment automation. Go to payment workbench. Under payables, select payments. Okay. So here what we can do is just click on payment task panel. Here you can see manage payment request, manage payment process profile template, create payment and all. So now what is our requirement? We are not going to submit straight away. We'll submit it, but before that, or else let's go to this, then I'll just walk through those points. Then we'll go and create the template. By using the template only we'll be doing. Select task called as submit payment process request. Here I can give some name. I'll just give some name test. Anyway, we are not going to submit, just for information. Okay. So here we have a different parameters. Pay through date means, okay, till this date, the invoice which are falling under 28th only, those will get processed. If I give the date as 30th, till 30th, whatever the invoice falls into due, till that date system will be selecting. Okay. And the payment priority also you can give it when you are creating invoice. You can give priority based on that, could be any priority you can select. Okay, date basis, pay date or discount base, due base, and you can select all the information. Include zero payments. Yes, means if there are some zero payments. Generally we have a case, say I create invoice with the 10,000, because of some reason I create a debit or credit memo against that invoice for 10,000. Now the outstanding will become zero. So as per system will consider there is no payment against the invoice. When you run the aging reports, it will be displaying that zero amounts in the report. But generally, we don't want to see that kind of information in the any report. That has to be closed. For that reason, you can process the payment for zero. That only we call it zero payments. If you want to include that, you can include that. Okay, here we have a pay group. Basically, we have pay group concept remain, but it was not displaying in the that level. We'll see that. Okay. So we have a pay group. If you want to, like, we know it's a pay group concept is all about, we can group the multiple suppliers for the convenience of payment. Okay, for payment purpose we can, if you have suppliers 1 2 3 4 5, say 1 2 3 4 suppliers are foreign suppliers, you have a preference to make the first, you have to want to give first priority to foreign supplier to make the payment. In that case, here you may select pay group called as, okay, specific pay group. So for example, you want to make the payment to foreign supplier or say domestic suppliers, you can select it. These all values you can create through lookups. Okay, you can select the domestic, and only system will select for which suppliers are tagged with a pay group called as domestic, those suppliers only will get selected. Okay, just I'm canceling this. Select all. The same way currencies. Okay, when you are going, now you are going to submit payment. the payment you want to process for which invoices, only like specific currency related invoices or specific all currencies. That's how you can select. Okay, again, since in Fusion we have a cross currency payments also, the option also they given separately. Okay, what should be the invoice currency, which invoice currency related invoices need to be selected, and where you selected you may select there itself payment currency is different. In that case, if you say you create invoice with the USD and the payment currency you selected as a INR, that is possible in Fusion, which is not possible in released one. So you selected for 10 invoices, for all invoices, invoice currencies USD. Out of say 10 invoices, we have for 10 invoices, invoice currencies USD. Out of that, only for 3 invoices, payment currencies INR. You can select here payment option for currency. If you select INR, only those 3 invoices will get selected for payment, which comes under cross currency payments. The same way, if you want to process only specific business units, now we have access to multiple business units by default since we are using the common set that can be controlled by reference data set also, that sorry, security profile also, that also will be discussing, and we have as a schedule of our classes. So you want to process the payment for which business unit, that you can select based on the invoice or payment criteria, however you set. And legal entry, you can select particular legal entity, so that legal entity related, under that legal entity order we use we have, the system will allow you to select and process. In the same way, you can select supplier type, where this is also some, it's like a lookup value which you can select at supplier level. The same you can select here, based on that only that supplier type related invoice on the system will be selecting. The other one is payment method. You can select payment with check or wire or electronic or bills payables. You can select only that payment method related in supplier invoices it will be selecting. Okay, invoice conversion rate, it's generally foreign currency related. Supplier or party type, you can select specific supplier. Okay, you can select it. And when you are creating the invoices, we have seen one field called as invoice group, which is just a dynamic value. If you have a case where you created some dynamic values over there, that you can select here. This is something additional tracking and all you can track, and that also you can use as a payment criteria. These are the different conditions, rules which you can set up to process the payment. By following that conditions only, system will pick the invoices. And here payment and processing options. Okay, here you can specify you will be processing the payment through, you will be processing the payment through which bank account you can set. Okay, so that through bank account only the payments will get processed. Here we have a bank account called as Fusion account. Click on search, say okay, and payment document, Fusion check, select payment process profile to Fusion payment process profile. And so this is how just you can provide all this information. And other points to understand here, so just review proposed payments. Once you submit for the submit once you submit this payment process request to pick the invoices, to select the invoices, system has to move to next stage or else it has to stop us. Okay, somebody's having some question. Is the payment process flow same as what we have in R12? Yes, Satya, same, no change. Okay, however, we do this payment process in EBS, same process we will follow. Even you can see the same options, no change you see. Okay, review proposed payments means one system will select invoices for as a proposed payment, so you can go and review and you can take the action. Otherwise, if you don't enable, it will automatically next stage. And here you can select create payment file immediate base. Okay, so whenever system will process it, system will create the payment file automatically. That's how we can do that. Sorry, somebody's asking something. What is the maximum create option? See, those are something like advanced options, so you can go with the such help. It's not possible for us to go with each and every options whatever we have. In that case, it takes too much time. You just, we have help, try with help, you can get it. If you want to understand more some specific fields which are advanced or which comes into specific business scenarios, in that case you can click on help and you can get good information. Especially in Fusion we have good information, you can try with that. In EBS you cannot get certain cases, but in Fusion you can get for everything. Okay, you can try in that way. Apart from that, if you are expecting something else which is very important which you should understand, that kind of things for sure I am covering. Okay, Fine. This is how just you can go with the criteria like which bank account and how the process should work, where it has to stop, whether payment file should be generated immediate or not. All this information you can see here. And here criteria also. Here I'm going with the open criteria. I'm not selecting any criteria. As per your business requirement, you can select criteria. Maybe if you want to process the payment to only your supplier, one supplier. I'm sorry, for one supplier, you can select the supplier information here. Now this payment process request will pick the invoices related to only that supplier, or else you can go with any criteria. Okay, so this is how just any criteria you can proceed. Once you select all this information, selection criteria, this is the criteria, the conditions or rules. Okay, and here you can provide these processing options. Once you're done with this, simply you can click on submit. Click on submit. So for example, this is the criteria every time I follow. Every time I want to, most of the time I want to process the payment to Fusion supplier and the same bank account details I want to use. In that case, instead of submitting directly every time through manual process, here what you can do, you can create the template and you can set the same information as the default and you can process it. Let's see how to create the template. Now you can click on submit, it will be processed. Okay, but now we don't want to do that. We'll do this same process through template. First we'll create the template, we'll use the template. So the template level, whatever the defaults will set, that will default to uh, PPR, payment process request. From there directly you can submit it. If you want to override something, you can override, or else directly you can submit. So here we have a templates. Manage payment process request templates. First let's create template. By using the template, we'll submit the payment. Okay, so there should be action. Yes, click on create, add, create, nothing but. So I'll give the template name Fusion payment template. Okay, this type and all not just required. If it's specific to EFT or something else, you can use it. It's not mandatory parameter. Now you can set the criteria. Want to process specific supplier or what exactly, you can supplier type or supplier name or payment method, you can set some criteria as how you require, and then you can go with the payment and the processing options. Here you can select your disbursement bank account. So here our bank account is Fusion account. Okay, select payment document. Payment process request. Fusion payment process request. Here we are not going to do any cross currency payments. So when we'll do that, cross currency also will be testing. If it is a cross currency transactions are existed, accordingly for cross currency which rate is applicable, you can select here. Okay, which rate type, you can define your own rate types. Okay, fine, done. Now I'll say just payment should be reviewed before processing for next stage, and payment file also should be generated immediate base. These are all are the options. I'm setting a template level. Now simply you can say save and close. This template is ready to use when we are going to make the payments through payment process request. Just click on done. Now we'll see how to automate the payment process with template or without template we discussed. Now we'll use the template and we'll do that. So go to this task panel and here you can say submit payment process request. Here you can give the request name Fusion payment request. You may give within the name respective date or some numbering for unique identification. Now if you want to give this criteria, if you want to provide any one of these criteria, you can just provide, or else here also you can set what is the criteria required. But if you want to use the template, you don't need to set any information, you don't need to set criteria, you don't need to set any processing options. Just you have to select the template. From template, all the predefined information will get defaulted. Our template name is Fusion payment template. Search, select, save. Okay, from this template, the information will be defaulted here, taken. These checkboxes all get enabled, but here in the selection criteria we didn't provide any information, so the same is defaulting. So done. Now you can simply click on submit. Just click on submit. After clicking on submit, okay, here you can go to panel and say manage payment process requests. You can search for the request whatever you submitted, then click on search. Okay, the action is not yet updated. Here you can see that action. Just wait for some time. To see the update, you can click on keep searching on this. Generally that will work as a reference refresh. The action should come. Now the action is ready. Okay, so selected for, maybe there may be some other invoices which is unpaid. Okay, just click on this action so that we can see review proposed payments. That's what we enable the checkbox. That's the reason it's invoice are waiting for review. Click on action. Okay, so the total amount for the 4 invoices, this much amount, 46,000. That invoice, that amount is belongs to these 4 invoices. I think we have one more invoice, we have 6. Okay, fusion 6 where there is some outstanding. Okay, so done. Okay, just verify that and say for example this invoice you want to deselect from this. In this case you can delete it. Okay, you can delete that amount, and you can just, if you want to update the amounts, okay, if you want to update the amounts you can just place and you can do that correction, how much you want to pay, don't want to pay and all. So then just click on resume payment process. You are just submitting to next level. Okay, is it possible to send notification to the payables manager for review and all? The manager and all you want to send, if you want to send any kind of notifications to some email or something else, yes, you can do that. But you have to go with that SMTP server configuration and all. In that way you can set the notifications also. Just search. Now this is a formatted and ready for printing. You can take the action on that. Just click on that action. And since in this printer is not installed, you cannot select that printer related information, but no issues. Here you can see that the process how it works. Click on submit, and the other side system will be running that request. In the background it will be running the request. If you want to see any request which system is running, you can go to that schedule process. I opened other tab. From here we'll navigate. So formatted we submitted for printing, and under tools you can go with the schedule processes. Now system is, see here, we submitted and it built and it formatted that file. Just from here you can see that statuses. And now here you can just refresh with the search option. Just click on search. Now place the cursor, it's a payment file details here. From here you can confirm that for the payment. Okay, you can say record print status, say submit. It's giving the confirm of payments cannot be reversed. Once you confirm the payments cannot be reversed, once payments in a payment file are confirmed. Okay, once you confirm the payments, it cannot be reversed, undo. So that's what it's asking for confirmation. Yes, we are okay with that. Say record the payment status. Just say click on done. Status is printed, and you can see the status has a confirmed also once the request is completed. Here you may refresh, you can see that payment file confirmation. Okay, let's take some time.
Lakshman,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah, I have one small question.
yeah, please.
Okay, in R12 or R11, like in generally we are going to develop the new templates, right? Like as a check printing templates, like as a payment format template.
No, I'm not here. I'm
Okay,
not getting your voice properly, Sharath. Could you please?
can you hear me?
Yeah, better, please.
Okay. In general, in R11 or R12, we are going to design our own templates for check printing, right? Like as a payment format files we are doing.
Yes, yes, yes. We do that.
Yeah, and we are defining our own payment template and payment
Yeah.
profile and everything we are setting up in R12. How we are going to
Here,
do?
templates, yes, templates. You can do that. You can modify and all. I'll be showing that. I'll show that
Okay.
because I think somebody's asked the same question. Somebody just I made a note to cover in this sessions. I'll do that.
Okay, no problem.
Already I
Thank
just made a note. Okay.
No problem.
I'll just do from where you can open and how to do it. I'll just show you that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Fine. So we're done with this. Now you can go and again you can resubmit. Yeah, please.
Lakshman, Uncle.
Yeah,
Lakshman, positive pay concept is also there in
yeah,
Fusion?
yeah, positive pay we have. That should be there, right? It's all about where where like the file will get generated, will submit to the bank. The bank will use the file for validation or
We have
clearing.
to customize the standard positive pay format
Yeah,
also.
yeah, you can do that. Here also you can do that. That formats, customization changes should be there. It's not like Oracle will give something, everyone will be happy with that. That is there. And you go with this check printing and all, I'll show you that all. What are the formats we do modification and where we can do and all. We'll do that. Okay. I'll show you that. I'll show you that. Just anyway, other side, I'm just making a note what you are asking. I may forget to show sometimes. Just I'm just making a note everything. I'll cover it. Okay, done. Now just once again you can click on search and just let me go with the search. So you click on this number. And if you scroll here, I can see the payments from here. Just click on payments. The payment is processed for how many invoices? For these 4 invoices. Okay. So this is all just you can see that the payment details and bank details and all the history against that everything you can see. For this there is no history, but you mean to say like it's any cancellation or something else you did at all. Everything you can see from here. Fine. So so now what we'll do is we'll jump into the next concept. I'm sorry, I have some bad cold. We're done with the payment process request. We have seen how to process the payments automatically by following certain criteria. That's all about this. I just mentioned the concept, withholding tax and all. Fine. It's 8:30. Okay, we can do this. It won't take much time. Fine. We'll go ahead with your withholding tax setups. Okay, concept wise, when you talk about withholding tax, what exactly it's all about it. So we know in India, like TDS, what happens is when you are dealing with particular classification of vendors or employees, will deduct the TDS. The deducted amount will be paying to the tax authority. The remaining amount will be paying to the employee or specific category of the suppliers, right? So for which parties TDS is applicable, will deduct and will be paying the remaining amount to them, and the tax amount will pay to the tax authority. Same concept. So as in the US, just we call as withholding tax and all. So it's all about when you are making the payment. If you are going to make the payment to so and so supplier in that specific country, if tax withholding tax is applicable, where we have to hold some tax amount instead of paying to the party. If you pay to the party, party may pay, may not to pay the organization. I'm sorry, government. So that reason, as per government regulations and I mean the taxation body, what we do is we'll just hold the amount when you are going to make the payment from the supplier. Payment only will be holding the amount. It can be invoice creation time or payment creation time. You can go with your own preferences, how it works accordingly. You can hold some amount. Okay, and the holded amount you can pay to the tax authority. The remaining amount will be paying to the supplier. Say for example, I have invoice with the 10,000. I'm going to make the payment, but for that supplier, tax authorities withholding tax is not applicable. I'll be paying 10,000, or else on that say 10% tax is applicable. Say VAT is applicable. In that case, I'll include the VAT, the 10,000 on the 10%. Say 10,000, 10,000, sorry, 10,000, 11,000. I'll be paying to the supplier. That is a general case. But if the tax is withholding tax, I should not pay withholding tax to the supplier. The withholding tax amount I have to reduce from the invoice. If you take this case 10,000, under say 10% tax is applicable, say 1,000 I'll reduce, and only 9,000 I'll be paying to the actual supplier. Remaining 1,000 I'll hold and I'll be paying to the tax authority. That is the concept of withholding tax, which will be just handling. Okay. And the process wise, first we'll see what setups need to be completed in the system. First we have to create tables calendar. As per EBS, we'll create the special calendar, but not mandatory. That depending on only business case we'll be using it. If it is a flat rate, not required. It's something period based, it is required. Okay, so there are cases, but anyway, to try to understand, to give you the information how to create this special calendar in Fusion, I'm taking this point. Otherwise it's not a mandatory setup. Okay, but it's a part of setup but not mandatory. Let's do anyway. In EBS we'll create the special calendar. The same special calendars in Fusion we are calling as payables calendar. Since we are creating the payables with the different purposes, we are calling as payables calendar. Okay, first we'll create the payables calendar, then we'll create withholding tax authority as supplier. We'll create withholding tax authority as a supplier. Then we'll create tax codes, and you'll create tax groups, means withholding tax codes and withholding tax groups. After that, as per EBS, what we do is in the payable options we'll be having one tab called as withholding tab. Under that we'll go and set the controls, whether you want to calculate withholding tax yes or no. Just will enable it. You may assign the default withholding tax group at the payable options level, and at what point of time system has to calculate withholding tax, and at what point of time system has to create withholding tax invoice. These options will be setting in the payable options as per EBS, but Fusion they given separate setup. Okay, they given withholding tax options they given. Okay, the income tax withholding tax withholding options, the task they given, through that we'll be doing that. Once you're done with that setups, also what we have to do is we have to assign, or say enable, we have to enable and assign withholding tax group to standard supplier. Means on which supplier withholding tax is applicable, to that supplier we have to assign the tax group. At the same time we have to enable also, enable as we want to calculate withholding tax. So these are the basic setups we have to complete to implement the withholding tax functionality in the system. And once you're done with these setups, what we'll do is we'll create invoice. And in this scenario, what I'm going to do is, the very general practice is at the time of invoice validation time, system has to create withholding tax. that you can set up by using the withholding tax options. Within that, you can specify at what point of time system has to trigger the withholding tax calculation, as well as withholding tax invoice creation with a withholding tax amount. That we have to set in these options. But in this scenario, in this test case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set at invoice validation time. So here I'm mentioning the same. We'll create invoice. Say we'll create invoice with $1 lakh, and we'll submit for validation. Here I'm writing a separate point because it will trigger the actual result. We'll validate the invoice. The moment you validate the invoice, what system will do is it will create withholding tax invoice with tax amount. I'll take the case as we'll set the tax group. There we'll set the tax percentage at 10%. So 10% on this means it's a 10,000. It will create the withholding tax invoice with $10,000. That's it. Okay, then you can make the payment. So this for standard invoice, you will be making the payment only 90,000. Remaining 10,000 you have to pay against the tax authority. This 10,000 invoice will be credited against the tax authority again, because the mapping will be there in the tax codes. In the tax codes, we'll be selecting the to whom we have to report the tax amounts, to whom we have to pay the tax amount. That will be mentioning the tax code. We'll be selecting this tax authority into tax code. That's how it works. Let's go through this all this, then we'll see. I am unable to listen the voice. Mahidar is saying, let me answer him, saying that please rejoin. That is only one solution we have for now. Just typing in chat window. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is what we are going to test. First we have to complete this setup, then only we can test this process. Okay, let's go and complete all these setups. First we have to create the payables calendar. We know in EBS a special calendar we can create for the purpose of withholding tax and payment terms and recurring invoice and the key indicators. Here also you can create, but the classification slightly changed. We'll see the same. Go to implementation project, setup and maintenance, and just click on implementation projects, and here click on overview, so that will navigate to our project. Open this and search for payables calendars. So task name is manage payables calendars. Click on this task, then click on go to task icon. Okay, now here there are few payables calendars somebody created, but anyway we'll go and create our own. Then click on create. Here you can give the name based on the purpose, what purpose we are creating. I'll say will prefix here. The name won't accept many characters, so I'll go with a very short name. F means take as a fusion. For what purpose? Withholding tax, or else I'll write it. No issues, it will accept. It's not withholding tax. Fusion and withholding tax. The same I may write as a description. If this payables calendar, if you are going to create for the purpose of payment terms, you can select payment terms. Other than payment terms, it can be for recurring invoice purpose, or withholding tax, or key indicators for any other purpose. If you are going to create this payables calendar, then you can mark as general purpose. Only for payment terms you have to mark as payment terms. Other any purpose you can select as general purpose. And this payables calendar also can be auto generated. Okay, here just you have to give the relevant parameters, period frequency, what you require. So I'm selecting monthly automatically will default 12 periods, and this calendar should start from which date. From this date only it will auto generate. I'm going to select as 1st Jan. 1st Jan it has to create. When system is going to create the period, what format we require. I don't need month in 2 characters, it should be in the 3 characters. That's all. These are the specifications I'm giving. Okay, parameters I'm specifying. Based on that, it will auto generate. First you have to click on save. After clicking on save, okay, then you can just once again here basically this tab should get enabled. I don't see that it's getting enabled. No, here basically this tab will get enabled as a generate periods. Then once you click on generate periods, it will open. But anyway, let me close and open. It may get enabled. Basically, first you have to what, it's not appearing also. Sorry, somebody is saying Venkat, it was bold before you save. Yeah. Because basically you have to save. After saving only, just you have to click on auto generate. I mean generate. That's how it works. Now I think it is behaving differently. Then we'll also do accordingly. But generally, see, once you have to save it, then you have to generate it. That's how we'll do it. Fine. Leave it, no problem. Don't worry about that tab and all. We'll do that. I'll give the name as if withholding tax. I'll select general purpose and monthly. It's okay. I'll go with the start date. So fine. I'll go with this for now. No issues. But basically, it should accept to save. Okay. After accept saving, then by default, normally in this environment working normal, generally how it would be. This you have to save, then this will get enabled normally. That's how the function works. But here it's working reverse way. Not an issue. Ultimately, we have to create it. However, it is doesn't matter. Just click on generate periods. So it created periods. Then you can save it. Now, if you want to add for next year, you can click on this add year. Then it will be adding for next year also. For number of years, how many years you want to add for one more year only. Generate. Then 2017 also created. Then say save and close. Done. Fine. This is how we'll create the payables calendar for withholding tax purpose. Now we'll proceed with other setups. Okay, we're done with this. Now we'll create the withholding tax authority as a supplier. We'll create the withholding tax authority and we'll just classify as a tax authority. So to do the supplier related configuration, go to navigator. And here where we have that procurement. Okay, under procurement, click on suppliers. Go to task panel. So create supplier. I'll say fusion withholding tax authority. Okay. Select spend authorized tax organization. Just as a default, you can go with corporate. Click on create. The same process how we create normal supplier, same process, only that classification we have to give as a tax authority. That makes the difference. So that system will understand accordingly. It will give in the allow this value in the respective fields. Now go to address. Then say create. Just give the name. Withholding tax address. The country you can select US. These are not mandatory, but just I'm copying all these values. Since we have validation, we have to select from elbow view only cities. Any city you can select. State also defaulting based on city. Here select postal code and set for purpose. So the withholding tax, only the purpose would be remit to payment purpose only, right? We don't buy anything. Okay, done. Now you can say save and close. We created address. Now we have to create the site against this address. Go to sites and here click on create. Select same address. It will default as site name, but you can modify how you want to see that name. The same name is defaulting for site also. Site name. Then set site withholding tax site, and you can select any other purposes you require only site level. Then you can click on save so that these tabs will get enabled so that you can go with assignments. Save. Then you can set default payment method for the supplier. I'm selecting check and click on default. Sorry. Select, then click on this is the option default. It will default it. Sorry. Go to site assignments and assign this supplier site to RBU. Then say save and close. Okay, the same process how we create supplier. Apart from this, what we have to do is go to profile. The profile level you have to classify the supplier is tax authority. Supplier type. Select supplier type. From drop down select tax authority. Then only the supplier will be available when you are creating the tax codes to map. Otherwise, the supplier you cannot see in that field. Okay, just say save and close. So now we create a tax authority as a supplier. Done. The next step, we'll create the withholding tax codes. Go to implementation project. We can just wind up within 10 minutes. I don't take much time. Go to implementation projects. Say overview. Open the project. Search for tax codes. So this is a task name we have to use to define the withholding tax codes. Task name is manage tax codes. Then click on go to task icon. You don't see any difference how we do in EBS same. Click on create this tax code for which business unit. Select your business unit. Where is our business unit? Well, business unit is not coming here. It's not mandatory. We have to set that withholding tax options. Then only it will come. It won't work in that way. It should come by default. It has to come because we are in that environment. Why it's not coming? I'll just reopen. Finance business unit. Why it's not coming? It should come. This is withholding tax, country tax, resume course. I think that is the wrong one. Managed tax is correct. Payables tax and withholding correct. Why it was displaying something else also? Tax resume and all, it won't ask anything. The same task should work, but the fields I'm finding a little different. The same. No, this it won't come in this way. It's totally different form. It is opening now. Basically, when you are creating the tax, withholding tax and all this tax resume codes and all, nothing is required and all. Why it is coming now? It should come. It should not come. Withholding tax, you don't need that information. Fine. Okay. We'll see this in the tomorrow session. I'll just look into that. Why our BU is not coming? There is no good reason. There is no dependency. There is no setup is required. Directly it should come. Fine. I'll check it anyway. I'll check it. I'll keep ready by tomorrow. We'll proceed from here. Okay. Yeah, Lokesh, tell me.
Lakshman, this is Venkat. Yeah,
Yeah.
one general question.
Yeah.
So, like until we practice couple of times, we'll not be remembering all the what task we need to use for specific activity.
Yes,
Is
correct.
there a document that you can share with us that will help? Okay, let's say you want to create a user, then you need to go for manage data roles,
I didn't
withholding
prepare
tax.
anything. I didn't prepare anything.
Okay, it's
Okay,
like is
just
there
when you
something
are
that's
practicing,
published?
see, when you are practicing, no, because you task list you can see within this. I shown in the first session,
Yes,
so you can go offering, but those all not won't be in the sequence. Best thing what you can do is one when you are doing the practice first time, you can make a note, right?
yes.
One
That
time,
means like,
yeah.
yeah.
First time
That's the
when you are
best
doing,
thing.
yeah, yeah, correct.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I didn't prepare that kind of stuff. Since it's up,
Okay.
just we can search and do it.
Yeah, it's better to practice and you'll remember it.
Yeah. First time when you are doing practice, first time you can make a note, document or some note. That
Okay.
would be great.
Okay. Thank you.
Fine. Lokesh, what is your issue you are referring? My issue is not at resolved. What is the issue you are referring? Lokesh, can you tell me what's the issue you are facing? I'm sorry, I don't remember. I could remember as some mail you sent, and I replied to that, but I don't remember exactly. Can you tell me what is the exact issue you have? You can just unmute and you can speak over the mic. I mean, instead of writing the test, it may take some time.
Okay. Lakshman, Lokesh here.
Yeah, Lokesh, tell me.
Actually, I have created the primary ledger. After that, we will submit the review program, right?
Okay.
So I have submitted that program. It ends with the error.
Mm-hmm.
So then after that, I send my log files and everything to you.
What's your implementation project name?
J&J.
JN?
No, and symbol.
Don't use the symbols, special characters. Those will become good reasons to fail. Special characters we
Okay.
should not use in chart of accounts or names and all. That's what here
Okay.
one thing we have to notice. Only that could be the reason it is not happening. No, try with a different name. It will work. Don't use special characters. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No. That's okay. I'll create one more.
Yeah, you
New
try.
one
If
in
you
chat.
have any issue, just email me. Or if anything urgent, you can call me on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fine.
And I ask you regarding the interview question something. If you have something, can you send us?
I don't have anything ready made. I have to speak. If you want me to talk about it, okay. Maybe after this call we can connect, or else let's see afternoon again, because after this session I have another session. We'll connect tomorrow
Okay.
today afternoon. You can call me after 2 o'clock today.
Okay.
But anyway, in our session also we'll have one in our classes also we'll have one session to discuss on that. But not now. It
Okay.
takes some time. So maybe end of the session
Okay.
or before we close, we'll talk about. If something is urgent from your side, just you can call me after 2 o'clock. We'll discuss over the phone.
Okay.
Fine then.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Lakshman, this is Venkat.
Venkat, tell me.
Yeah. In R12 law, we used to see that help diagnose, right? We can use it,
Here,
right?
we don't have that help diagnostics and all here. We cannot see that. That option we don't have.
Okay.
That data is getting stored in which table and all. We cannot see that. That option we don't have.
So even table details also we are not able to see in the form level, right?
Yes, exactly. For that, you go from where you can query and all. I'll be showing when we are working, and I'll show you the BA reports also basic level. At that time, I'll show you from where you can query and see the table information. That is only one option available in cloud environment. Okay, I'll take you through that.
On premises also can we see it? I'm not talking about the cloud.
On premise, you can have a database access.
Database access we have, but
Application. Yes, listen. Application point of view, they didn't give that option. You cannot in any on-premise or cloud or PaaS or SaaS or IaaS any adaption you cannot see. The functionalities they didn't build. That it's not possible in any environment.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll see. Is there any other way to manage that kind of information? I'll just look into this point. I'll try to find if something is there. I can share with you. But as a standard function is not available. So if that is the case, how to find and all, I'll try to get some information for your question. But by default, nothing is there. Okay.
But personalization still exists, right?
Yes.
Personalization we can do it.
Yes,
right?
you can do personalizations in any deployment, any SaaS or PaaS or anything. You can do the personalizations. Yep. Any other question? Okay. Fine. Okay, seems to no questions. Then we can wind up the session for now. Okay. So we'll connect tomorrow and we'll continue with that withholding tax configuration process. I'll try to fix that issue why the BU is not populating in that list. I'll look into that. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day and good night.
Lakshman,
Yep.
Lakshman, I think we'll be covering basic I expense thing also?
Yes. I mentioned in the, please, regarding course content and concepts, please always refer content only. Okay, any
Oh,
concepts, anything, please don't mind, because this is a question keep repeating from different participants. Because just one time, please go through the course content. Many questions you may stop asking. Okay.
yeah, I got it. I
Yeah.
didn't gone through that. My
Oh,
mistake.
yeah, that's what. Nothing wrong if you're asking, but I'm not saying please don't ask me, but just I'm giving small hint. Okay, fine. I mentioned everything. What we are going to cover, I mentioned. Hope based on that only people are shown interest to join these classes. Okay, fine, done. So we'll connect tomorrow. Okay, then bye for now. Have a good day and good night.